Santa's making his list. He's checking it twice, and basically the entire Big East is on the naughty list. Yikes.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Happy Christmas Eve. Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network there is. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch to get your Christmas Eve going the right way. Special shout out to all you everydayers out there, and of course, all the members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord as well. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action all this season long, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets right now. So coming up on the list today, just thought to have some fun with Christmas time, right? So Santa makes a naughty list, a nice list, and I thought we'd look at what college basketball teams are on the naughty list this year, what teams are on the nice list, and what teams is Santa still in the workshop trying to figure out which list he's going to put them on. So that's where we're headed. We're going to start with the naughty list. I'll give you 3 and a couple honorable mentions. Unfortunately, starting the naughty list is one just about entire conference, with all due respect to the UConn Huskies, and that is the Big East. The Big East has been very unfortunate. Marquette is 5-8 right now. Things are not looking good. They're 115th at KenPom. St. John's, who we thought was going to be, they were number 5 preseason. They are currently 8-4 and not doing well compared to expectations, right? Like that's part of what this whole thing is. But the Big East, man, in totality, you look at it at the net rankings. We've talked about this some recently, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the teams are in the top 60, but all the other 5 are outside the top 100. So there's this big dichotomy between the top half and the bottom half. But UConn, literally the only team in the net top 25. They're 8th right now in the net. St. John's is next at 29, and it goes down from there. Villanova beats Seton Hall on Tuesday night, so they're 30th. As we sit here right now, Seton Hall 34th. But you guys, the big culprit for me is St. John's. That's the team at the top of the naughty list. They are not currently ranked. They were preseason number 5. They've lost all their losses are understandable. Alabama, Iowa State, Auburn, and a Kentucky team that had just got Jaden Quaintance back. That was this past Saturday. The problem for St. John's is that you had all those games and you're like, we probably should have won at least one of those games, and they were unable to. And consequently, their best win is Baylor, who's 29th at KenPom. They beat Ole Miss, but it's like, all right, cool. And Andy's talked about this on the show a little bit, but the problem now for St. John's is because the whole Big East is bad outside of UConn. UConn's about the only games of note that will give you much merit as we go through the rest of the season. Like, let me look at St. John's and see how many in non-con play. They've got a few quad 1s, but it's a lot of quad 2, quad 3 is what remains. And that's going to be tough. 1, 2, 3, and a quad 4. Marquette at home is a quad 4. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they do have 7 quad 1 games. That's good. And hopefully that can continue. But the Big East in totality has not been great. Again, one team in the top 40 at KenPom. That's tough. Next team on Santa's naughty list, again, compared to preseason expectations, is the reigning national champion Florida Gators, who are currently 8-4. And the whole storyline, the whole narrative was, wow. Yes, Florida lost all of their backcourt from the national championship team. Most of them either left for the NBA, ran out of eligibility, or were Denzel Aberdeen and went off to Kentucky. But the whole front court returned. Tommy Houck, Alex Condon, Ruben Chinyelu, Micah Hanlogton, they're all back. But the Gators now have lost to Arizona to kick off the season. Totally get that, especially now what we know about it. Even in real time, before we knew that Arizona is Arizona, it's like, all right, I get that. But they've also lost to TCU and to Duke and to UConn. Duke and UConn, totally understandable. TCU, not so much. The other problem is they should have lost to Florida State at home, but were just able to squeak by in the end. And similar to St. John's, who's like, what's your best win? Florida's best win is Miami right now. And Miami's a little bit better than I think a lot of people think they are. But Florida, this team coming off the national championship, having the aspirations for this season that they do, the problem is that I think in large part, the backcourt hasn't even held a candle to last year's national championship backcourt. And so the Boogie Flan, Xavier Lee experiment is still a work in progress. And they've got time. Like, we're just now getting to SEC play. And so there's time to figure it out. But the problem is, you hoped the time to figure that out was before SEC play started in non-con. And so now Florida's going to have to do a little bit of that on the fly. Third team I want to put on Santa's naughty list here is the Oregon Ducks. And they didn't have the same preseason lofty expectations of either St. John's or Florida, but I expected them to be top 5 in the Big Ten. The Ducks, as we sit here today on Christmas Eve, are 6-6. I don't get it. They've lost to Auburn, San Diego State, Creighton, both LA schools in the Big Ten, USC and UCLA, and then this past weekend lost to Gonzaga by 9. Their best win, of these 3 schools we've talked about, St. John's, Florida, Oregon, their best win is the most head-scratching of them all. Ready? Oregon's best win is to Hawaii, ? 4 of their 6 losses are by double digits. And heck, the Gonzaga one was almost double digits. It was 9. And I think Oregon scored like at the last second on that one. So the Ducks, and it's tough because you've got Nate Biddle, who seems to be playing well. You've got Jackson Shelstad. You've got others, but it's just, oh man, it's not working. It is not working for the Ducks. And that's tough to see. 6-6. They're 500 right now. Not good. You, my friend, the Ducks are on Santa's naughty list. A couple teams that I want to put honorable mention on the list are Memphis, who has a losing record right now at 5-7. They're 115th at the net. They've lost to Ole Miss, UNLV, Purdue, Wake Forest, Louisville, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State. Wow. They're not going to win the American unless they get things figured out. I mean, that's where Memphis is sitting right now. I truly don't see it happening. Utah State, they got to play them later. That's one more non-con opportunity they'll have in February. But sheesh, dude, I don't know what's going to happen with this Memphis team. We'll keep our eyes on it and we'll see. And then my other honorable mention for being on Santa's naughty list is San Diego State, who we mentioned that Oregon lost to. San Diego State, I expected them, speaking of Utah State, which is funny that Memphis plays them, I expected San Diego State to win the Mountain West. That's going to be Utah State again. San Diego State 7-4 with losses to Michigan, Baylor, Arizona. Can explain all of those, but then also Troy. You can't lose to Troy. That is not good. San Diego State going to have to come a long, long way back for that. But for a team that I preseason thought was going to win this conference, they're not in a good way. So San Diego State, honorable mention on Santa's naughty list. All right, that's enough of the sadness of the naughty list. Let's talk about teams that are surprising us with good things, and they are on Santa's nice list. We'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel all exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're like reacting to it in real time. How cool is that? With FanDuel, you can place live bets as that action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And really, live betting is best when those crazy things start to happen. There's a turnover that changes the trajectory of the game. It's like, oh man, let me get in on this. And that's what's cool. FanDuel lets you get into all of those crazy moments. There are live spreads, there are money lines, and they adjust instantly. Player props update as that guy gets hot. You can bet on who's going to score the next touchdown or how this drive is going to wrap up. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. How about some national championship odds? Michigan leads the way at plus 400, followed by Arizona at plus 900, then UConn at plus 1,000, followed by Iowa State, Duke, and Gonzaga, all at plus 1,200, and Purdue, the Boilermakers, at plus 1,300. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thanks for making Locked On College Basketball your first listener watch of the day. And thanks for making Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. Man, it's incredible and it means so much to us. I also want to remind you about the brand new Everydayers Club. There are 2 tiers to it. You can hop in on either one of those and be part of all the great action. That link's in the show notes. All right, let's move from Santa's naughty list to Santa's nice list. Who are some teams that are surprising us this year? Got to start with a pair of undefeated schools. Oh my goodness. Vandy. Did not see this coming. Mark Byington, a dude right now making it happen. As we speak, the Commodores are 12-0. They're up to number 8 at KenPom. And it's tough when you look at the resume. There's honestly nothing that like jumps out of the page like, wow, Vandy got that. Like we're about to talk about Nebraska. They've got one of those wins. With Vandy, there's nothing elite level resume wise, but they do have multiple top 50 wins over UCF, at UCF, over VCU, over St. Mary's, over SMU, over Memphis, over Wake. And so they've compiled in their 12 wins some nice wins, if not elite level wins. So I'm like cautiously optimistic here, definitely on the nice list, but I want to see what happens in SEC play for Vandy. I've talked about that a lot recently, but man, I tell you, Duke Miles is having himself some sort of year, man. It's fun to watch. You're getting contributions from Devin McLaughlin, from Tyler Nickel, who seems to be knocking down every 3-pointer in sight there in Nashville. It's really, really encouraging. It's really, really cool to see for the Commodores, and you kind of hope it keeps rolling, right? Like it's just cool to see teams that aren't the regulars pop up and have a year. And to that point, the second team on Santa's nice list here is Nebraska ball. The Huskers, 12-0. They're 2-0 in Big Ten play because they've already played 2 games. They currently are the owners of the nation's longest winning streak at not 12, but 16 games. How on earth, Isaac? Because Nebraska won the crown that new end of season tournament last year. So they won their last 4 games of last season and their first 12 games of this season. But their wins, that's the thing that's a little bit more standoutish to me about Nebraska than about Vandy and what they're doing. Right now, Nebraska has beaten Wisconsin. They've beaten Creighton, who's looking a little better now. They've beaten Kansas State. They beat Illinois at Illinois, and that is clear and far away their best win. Like, I really like that Illinois team this year, and I think they're only going to get better as the season goes along. As remember, some of the there was injury, there was guys not cleared to play, but that's all coming together now. But Nebraska, man, like Rink Mast, love him, love what he brings to the team. And in totality, I love this because Fred Hoiberg had a good deal of success at Iowa State, and it's been getting better at Nebraska. 20 win seasons each of the last 2, which clearly they're on their way to doing it now again this season, but it's just not been good enough. I just don't know how else to say it. But man, it's going well right now. This 12-0 start. Curious to see how long the Huskers can keep Nebraska ball undefeated. Really cool stuff. And then the number 3 team here on the nice list is Seton Hall. And I recognize I'm saying that the day after Seton Hall just lost to Villanova at home. But still, for all of the ick that we talked about the Big East in the first segment, Seton Hall's been a really nice surprise, and purposefully, I did not say their name as we talked about the Big East because I wanted to talk about it here. Seton Hall right now is 5th at Ken Palm um, amongst the Big East schools. But in the net rankings, they're 4th. They're 34th in the net right now, pending Wednesday morning's refresh, which we haven't seen yet. But I mean, they're ahead of Butler, they're ahead of Creighton, they're ahead of Marquette. How often Xavier? They're ahead of Xavier. How often in recent years would we have been able to say that? Not very often. It's great what Shaheen Holloway's doing. They've got a couple nice wins. Seton Hall does. Just it's fun to see. And I'm curious to see how this season goes. Their only other loss other than Villanova last night was USC back during Thanksgiving week. Now they move into Big East play kind of the rest of the way. Their best win is probably the NC State win. That's really cool, but they beat Kansas State. They beat Providence. And so Seton Hall, man, really cool stuff. Now, obviously, when we get to our honorable mentions, I do want to mention the teams that should be probably at the top of this nice list, but we've talked about them so much this season because of all the great stuff they're doing, and that's Arizona and Michigan. Because again, this is relative to expectations, and I was low on Michigan. I was medium on Arizona, but both of them, man, look so good. Like if you played a national championship today, give me those two teams in that national championship matchup. And I mean, it's pretty crazy. And so, yes, obviously they deserve honorable mention here. And the other team I want to add to this honorable mention nice list is UVA, Virginia. Man, what Ryan Odom's doing pretty quick here for the Cavs is impressive to see. DeRitter, I really like him. Grunlow, a lot of these guys and what they're doing. I wonder if Isaac McNeely, I mean, obviously he's at Louisville now and he's happy, but you wonder if he's like, man, I could have stayed at Virginia and done it. And kind of, and Malik Thomas too, I haven't mentioned him, but the funny thing about Virginia is keep in mind, Odom does not subscribe to the Tony Bennett school of defense, right? This is a team now that's going to play some offense. In fact, Virginia is 12th in offensive efficiency at Ken Palm and 65th in defensive efficiency. The Cavs' lone loss right now is to Butler on a neutral. Again, similarly, they don't have any like massive elite wins. They beat Texas, they beat Dayton, Northwestern. Those are the three biggest wins. And so similar to Vandy, I'm curious to see with Virginia once they get going. They play at NC State and at Virginia Tech. Actually, flip the order of that. Their first two ACC games. That is on New Year's Eve at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, and then at NC State Saturday, January 3rd. So we might learn a little bit there about this team and what they are. But man, really cool that Coach Odom is able to do this in his first season back in Charlottesville, a place where he grew up as his dad, Dave, was coaching the Cavs. They're really, really cool. All right. So we've had our naughty list. We've had our nice list. There's a couple teams that Santa just sees as head scratchers right now. And like, I don't know what to do with you. So he's still in the lab trying to figure out which list to put them on. We'll wrap the show talking those teams in just a second. All right, I got a trio of teams for you that Santa Claus just can't decide whether to put them on the naughty list or the nice list because they've been a little bit of an enigma so far this season. We're going to start with the Kentucky Wildcats. And yes, I know there is an argument for putting them on the naughty list, but I have trouble doing that because of the injuries and injuries to guys that are probably 3 of their 5 starters, 2 of which have been a little more troublesome. Jaden Quaintance just getting back into the fold, playing for the first time against St. John's on Saturday. Jalen Lowe been in and out with this shoulder injury. Mo Diabate had that high ankle sprain, missed a nice little chunk of time there. And like, I guess the argument for Kentucky's inclusion on the naughty list would be, okay, yeah, Isaac, I hear all that. But when they got blown out by Gonzaga, they looked uninterested and like they didn't want to be there. Fair enough. And if you want to put them on your naughty list, I'll hear that argument. But right now, Kentucky sitting at 9-4, a bit of a sleepy win over Bellarmine on Tuesday, kind of during the day there, 99-85. Their losses, again, all understandable, all to teams that right now are top 25 teams, to Louisville, at Louisville, to Michigan State on a neutral, to North Carolina at home, and to Gonzaga at a semi-home, but technically a neutral. The Michigan State losses and the Gonzaga loss were both blowouts. But now Kentucky has wins over Indiana and St. John's. They just beat Bellarmine. We're going to learn a little bit pretty quick right out of the gate here because they're now off for the better part of 2 weeks. Kentucky is before traveling to Tuscaloosa on Saturday, January 3rd. So that's a major, major day. Watch that. And I'm just so curious to see what happens in that game. But as for now, Kentucky is still on Santa's I'm not sure what to do with you list as we wait to see how the Cats will be once the injuries are fully passed. And with that time off they have right now, that's going to be really helpful in that endeavor. The next team, I might have put on the naughty list as well, but they played their way a little bit back into territory with their win over Duke at Madison Square Garden on Saturday. And that's the Texas Tech Red Raiders, who I've got a strong affinity for because a lot of my family, or a lot of my wife's family, went to Tech. And we live just a little bit south of Kansas City where all the Patrick Mahomes crazies are. So like right there, there's some Texas Tech love in my heart. Right now, the struggle for the Red Raiders is similar to Kentucky and just dealing with injuries where a couple recent games, they've only had like basically 6 available players to go with. Texas Tech's defense is not, according to the metrics, great right now. They're 63rd at defensive efficiency at Ken Palm, but 15th in offensive efficiency. And that's the thing, is you look at it and you're like, well, we got JT Toppin, we got Christian Anderson. They could get hot as Christian Anderson did and win any game did against Duke and win any game at any time. But the problem here this year is that you don't also have Darion Williams to counterbalance JT Toppin in the front court. And LaJuan Watts has yet to kind of live up to that hope and expectation in the front court there with JT. So we need some of that. Right now, Luke Bangboye banged up, Jalen Petty, Tyree Bryan, these guys coming in, but Tyree Bryan spent some time in jail, not real jail, but in Grant McCaslin's jail on Saturday night. And so that's an issue. So Texas Tech, TBD. Santa's still trying to figure out what he wants to do with them because 3 losses, Illinois, Purdue, and Arkansas. They've got they're 9-3. They've got wins over Wake, over LSU, and now the Big Daddy Duke. Like that's the one that it's like, were it not for that, Texas Tech might be on my naughty list as well. And the losses they have are to probable, I don't know, with Purdue and Illinois, probable top 2 or 3 seeds, with Arkansas a 4 or 5 seed. So again, understandable losses. But Purdue absolutely trucked Texas Tech. The Arkansas game was the one where they were really just playing with 6 because of injuries. And that had a lead in that one. Maybe that turns out different. And their loss to Illinois was only by 4. So Texas Tech needs to get healthy, just same as Kentucky, but Kentucky's further along that path than are the Red Raiders. Guns up. And of course, so much of Red Raider Nation right now has their eyes fully and firmly fixed on the college football playoff. And the last team I want to mention here is NC State. And I think as we think about preseason expectations and hype and everything that's built up, there was a lot of that for Will Wade coming to NC State. And not just Will Wade, but also because of the roster that he assembled. People look at it and say, yeah, there's some nice pieces there. NC State has not really any high-level wins, but some top 50, top 60-ish kind of wins: VCU, Boise State, Ole Miss. But they've lost every other meaningful game they've played. The win over Ole Miss on Sunday was the first time that NC State has beaten a power conference opponent this season. Lost to Seton Hall, lost to Texas, lost at Auburn, and then lost to Kansas at home in overtime without Darren Peterson. That's like anytime somebody's played Kansas, like, well, yeah, with or without Darren Peterson. Kansas won in Raleigh without Darren Peterson. And so for this first season of Will Wade, and we've all seen the tirade, the rant that he went on this week, they're still in that wait and see mode for me as well, because I do think the talent is greater. The capability of this team is greater than the 9-4 record that they have right now. But I'm just curious to see how it all ultimately comes together. What kind of coaching job will Wade be able to do? Man, I mean, you've seen some of the performances lately. Paul McNeil, a near triple double for Quadir Copeland the other day. And so again, the pieces are there. They just need to all come together for NC State. And so for now, I don't have them on my naughty list. Like, it's not been that, but I don't have them on my nice list either. And so if I'm Santa, I'm still trying to figure out which way NC State goes. Are they going to get nice gifts tomorrow morning, or is it going to be coal in the stocking? We'll wait to see. And thankfully, Santa's the one that ultimately has to make that decision. Thanks so much for joining me here on today's episode of Locked On College Basketball. I'd love to hear who you think should be on Santa's naughty list, nice list, and TBD list. Great stuff. Hope you're having just a great day with family and friends and loved ones. We will have a show tomorrow on Christmas Day, so make plans to check that out as well. And then Andy and I will be together on Friday's show. And then next week, we'll be back with you as we get into the new year, which is crazy to say. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, make sure you do that right now. If you haven't joined the Locked On College Basketball Discord, that link's in the show notes, as is the link for the brand new Everydayers Club. Love to see you in any of those spaces. Would be great to have you join us. As always, I want to say apologies to the Lawyer family. Cheers to the McBruins. Let's go Wild Popes. And until tomorrow, where we'll say a big fat Merry Christmas. Peace.